So I noticed when you showed up, you've been on the road for weeks, you had no Secret Service with you, which is a little weird given that your father was murdered while running for president, as you now are. Why wouldn't you have Secret Service protection?
Well, I did do a tweet on that got 30 million views when we got rejected. We applied in May for Secret Service protection. Secret Service protection was only allocated to the nominees of the parties prior to 1968. But when my father was killed, they changed the law immediately, and all of the people who were running against him, including George Wallace, immediately got Secret Service protection. So the law says that you're entitled to Secret Service protection automatically 100 days out. But the president also has discretion to give Secret Service protection to any candidate for any reason. And there are criteria, which is that you have to have 15% of polling results for a limited period of time. But he even can overrule that. For example, President Obama was given Secret Service protection 441 days out, or 551 days out, even though he had only, I think, 5% support at that time. My Uncle Teddy was given Secret Service protection 450 days out, even though he had not even declared for his presidency. And so he and Carter hated each other. President Carter was, the president of his own party, and Teddy had been enormously critical of him. And personally, they had a very personal antipathy for one another. And Teddy ended up running against him. But when he was moving into that decision to run, Carter, in a very classy move, gave him Secret Service protection. Oh, we applied for it. I get a lot of threats, a lot of death threats, and I get, a lot of people who are, for example, about 2 weeks ago, a mentally ill person made it to the second story of my house, and that is a very, very common occurrence.
Inside your house?
Yeah, inside my house. Before, somebody who was working there stopped them and then called the police. And we gave the Secret Service a 67, in fact, Gavin DeBecker, who you've had on this show,
yes,
who's runs the premier security service in the world, put together a 67-page report, which included 28 pages of all the threats of, typical threats against me and other indicia that I should have Secret Service protection. And I assumed the president would give it to me because, it just seems like bad judgment not to give it to me. If you go even on my Twitter feed, probably one out of, every 30 or 40 comments says, oh, you're going to get killed or something like that. It takes notice of the peculiar threats to my family members who are in this business. Oh, it's something that, the average American is aware of.
Yeah, your name is Robert F. Kennedy.
Yeah. And so it was an odd decision. I got a letter. Gavin actually got the letter because he had been doing, and by the way, I want to say this, the Secret Service themselves were wonderful. They were very, very encouraging, and they were very helpful at every step along the way. And I believe, and I can't speak for them, but I believe that their assumption was that we were going to get Secret Service protection. In fact, they told Gavin, we're going to send somebody out there within 10 days to interview Cheryl and Bobby and to tell them what it's going to look like. Because there's a lot of questions about, do I go to the gym? Do I have them, all of these questions that I don't know the answers to. And they come and they have a standard process for informing you. But then they went dark. And they said, a decision is made very quickly within 14 days, is what they told us. And they said, we have 8 details standing by ready to go, so we can do this very quickly. And then they went dark, and for 88 days, we didn't hear from them. And then I got the letter from Mayorkas Alexander Mayorkas, who's the director of DHS, saying that we've determined that you don't need Secret Service
But
protection.
it's very obvious, and you've confirmed it, that there are threats against your life, against your family. That's known. And so if they deny you protection, and they know that, what message are they sending?
I don't really know what they're doing. And by the way, you know, we've looked, and there's a guy called Jeremy Hammond who's done a really good article, a really thorough article about the past. And he was not able, and we were not able to find a single presidential candidate who had requested protection from the president and was not given protection. You know, Herman Cain got it, I think, 500 days out. Jesse Jackson, Shirley Chisholm, George Bush, and Ronald Reagan got it something 500 or 600 days out when they first ran. So it's just standard operating procedure. And particularly people who are polling around anywhere over 15%, which I have been for 4 or 5 months now, are, you know, regarded as, it's been treated as pro forma. And I am the outlier. I'm the single outlier that we could find that was denied Secret Service protection.
Why do you think that is?
I think, I think the DNC is playing hardball. And let's say this, I think the least malevolent interpretation that you can put on it is that they know that I'm going to have some kind of security service. And that typically would cost me, to do real security service between $100,000 and $200,000 a month. Because you have to pay the protectors, you have to pay for their transportation,
Of course,
you have
hotels,
to pay for the cars, and the hotels, the foods, and all of this, and it's very expensive because I'm traveling every day. So I think they probably feel like they can bleed me white by, and making sure that I'm not spending that money on advertising or organization, but that I have to raise a lot of money for my own protection. But I don't know. I mean, I'm just speculating about that.
Does it strike you that the Biden administration pays for personal security for Zelensky, but not for you?
No, well, listen, John Bolton still has a Secret Service detail.
Still?
Yeah, still. He hasn't been in government in years.
And he didn't do a good job in government.
All the president's family have Secret Service details. Hunter has a Secret Service detail. When he goes to court every day, he has 4 or 5 cars that are coming with him in a very, very big detail. So, and many government officials who are ex-government officials, what the Secret Service told us, and you can go to look at Jeremy Hammond's report, which you can find on, I think you just go on the internet and put Jeremy Hammond and RFK Secret Service. He shows that literally nobody, no presidential candidate, and many other people are receiving it. But I'm really like an outlier.
Younger people say the news is full of lies.
In Kennedy's motorcade.
239 people. The death of Jeffrey Epstein.